Welcome to episode 182 of the Half Point Per Podcast. I'm your host, Evan Riggs, joined as always by my co-host, Dalton Willie. It is Tuesday, a little bit out of the ordinary this week, but we're making it work. Very brave of us, Dalton, to record just one day after the NFL season ended yesterday, before the Chiefs could play their fifth game of the season.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. It's strange to me there was no Monday Night Football last night. So I'm pretty concerned about the NFL just not scheduling a game yesterday, but I'm sure they'll get that figured out and we can just move on to the Chiefs Lions, which is coming up on this Sunday. We got like a mini bye week basically.
You just had to tell Trevor and BTJ to go out to breakfast. You had to do it.
And I think they did. That's a damn shame.
Okay. This week we've got a fun one. We'll bring an old segment back off the top for a couple minutes. Then we're gonna play a fun game, start sit trade, not start sit cut. Start sit trade. Some of you can probably guess what that game is based off of, depending on your preference of that game. But that'll be a fun way for us to talk about different situations around the league, Dalton. But first, I mean, very timely for you because you're very much into the Pokemon right now. It sounds like we're bringing back an oldie but a goodie. For those who don't know who's that Pokemon, I'll play this drop in a second. Then Dalton and I are going to each read off a couple hints about a player, and we're going to try and guess the other person's player. And of course, if you're listening, feel free to guess along in your own head as well as we go.
Who's that Pokemon?
Dalton, you can lead us off with your player. Remember, don't say his name, just your hints.
Yeah. So I'll start off with this player leads his position group in targets per game. This player is top 10 in his current position group. And
top 10 in fantasy scoring?
Yes.
Okay.
And from weeks 2 to 5, he hasn't had a performance that has been outside the top 5 in this position group.
Jalen Waddle's not like mysteriously in the top 10 but he hasn't been that consistent.
No. I'll give you another hint. This player is in the NFC.
Okay.
And it is not a wide receiver.
Okay. So you said NFC, top 10 in scoring. They lead their position in targets?
Yes.
And they have not had a week outside the top 5 since week 1.
Yes.
Okay.
And their top target game is 14.
14. Holy cow. Okay, I mean, is this a tight end?
It is a tight end.
Okay, I'm just like racking my brain for NFC tight ends. It's funny. On the side, I was looking, neither here nor there, looking at trades for myself this morning. Couldn't help but notice Colston Loveland has 2 yards this season. Not feeling so hot about that start for Mr.
Well, I'll tell you, it's not Colston Loveland.
I mean, is it Sam Laporta? I know he just had a really nice game.
It is not Sam Laporta.
All right, I'll give myself one more guess, and then you can tell me. Not Sam Laporta. NFC. I just need to I just blank on tight ends.
I'll give you the last hit here. He's tight end 1.
He's tight end 1? Who's tight end 1 right now?
Yeah, it's pretty insane.
It's funny. I had the thought. I was like, oh, is Travis Kelce tight end 1? Like after the game last night that allegedly happened. I was like, no, he was too far behind. He's not tight end 1. I mean, shoot, I know it's not Trey McBride because he's been disappointing. Oh my God, this is killing me. I just have to go with a no guess. I cannot think of who. This is psyching me out that I can't think of who tight end 1 is.
It's Jake Ferguson.
Oh my! Yes, I should have, because he had he did. He literally had 14. Now I remember that. Unbelievable.
And this is just kind of like a mini Flowers moment for him. I want to talk about it because it's kind of incredible what he's doing. First, I'm surprised he's able to do it. I mean, he has a 14 target game where he finishes with 13 catches and 82 yards, which is pretty terrible.
He also had like no touchdowns all of last year, pretty much, and he has 3 already this year.
Yeah. But it's just insane what he's doing in the Cowboys offense. I don't think it's particularly like a productive standpoint. He's just become the check down king for Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
And a good moment to talk just about what a fun game we play in fantasy football, where he was the tight end 13 in most pre-draft rankings. He's not a superb skill set. He's not a great player. He's a fine player. But that offense is just rolling, and he is the prime beneficiary of it. I mean, before the CeeDee Lamb injury, he had his highest target games in 14 and 13 in back-to-back weeks. And since then, he's gotten 7 and 9 and then 7 catches in both those games. But he actually paces the league right now in targets. He's the leader in the league in targets. So all around, just a super fun sport we're playing. This was totally a predictable outcome everybody could have had. And for all those people who drafted Ferguson in the second round over Brock Bowers, like, kudos to you. You really knew what you were doing. And I'm so excited to be here and play this sport.
You'll be unsurprised to know that one of our friends is in the chat, and he made one guess at who this tight end is. It is none other than tight end dealer Eli Beery. He guessed Tungus, the San Fran tight end, which also went through my head as well, because I know he's caught quite a few touchdowns. On the subject of Ferguson, I think what I would say is, like, he's a fine player, and he'll probably continue to be a top 12 tight end, because tight end is just, like always, it's a wasteland once you get past the top guys. But once CeeDee Lamb comes back, it's going to be a lot less predictable and a lot less upside. But he'll still be worthy of throwing him out there and seeing what happens, I think.
I think he could not play the next 6 weeks and still finish as a top 12 tight end. That's how that position plays out every year.
I haven't looked at the points, so I don't know how far ahead he is. But I believe it, because, like I said, Kelsey was not that far off of being tight end one himself. Okay. Mine, I'll give myself the drop here.
Who's that Pokemon?
Okay. Mine is a running back. The stats will give that away. He is 11th in the NFL right now in carries. He's a top 24 fantasy running back. He has 2 fumbles lost and 2 total fumbles. The only other guys in the top 20 in total carries in the NFL with 2 fumbles lost outside of this player are Kyren Williams and Derrick Henry. And this guy is also tied for first in the NFL among running backs in snap percentage with 86%. Who's that Pokemon?
Bijan Robinson hasn't fumbled it.
I'll give you AFC.
AFC?
Yeah.
James Cook hasn't fumbled it. Is it Jonathan Taylor?
No, not Jonathan Taylor. To give a hint within a hint, when I say top 24 running back, that means he's a lot closer to that than number 1 overall. We'll put it that way.
Is it Tony Pollard?
Yes, it's Tony Pollard.
Oh.
So I bring Tony Pollard up because I think everybody kind of knows that the gravy train, as hasn't been like extremely profitable. It's been profitable enough, like starting running back, and it's been fine. But Tajay Spears is back. He did not play much, but he's fresh off of IR. They've said he's going to have a bigger role moving forward. We'll see. But whether it's this week, the following week, whatever, I do expect it to be at least a 70-30. And I would guess more like a 60-40. And unless that offense improves, unless Tony Pollard's efficiency improves, like, he's a good player. He's a perfectly fine player. But right now, he is living on the volume, and that volume is about to change dramatically, I think.
Yeah, and it's not like that offense is really producing at an elite level. They had a fun game against Arizona, but they were pretty much
Just
behind.
the most improbable comeback I think I've ever seen almost.
Yeah. I mean, Kyler Murray takes a snap to the face and fumbles the ball off of his own helmet.
And that's even the third most improbable thing that happened because DeMarcado drops the ball before he gets into the end zone. His coach was so mad that he got fined for how mad he was on the sideline. Did you see that?
Yeah, $100,000.
And then did you happen to see how the Titans scored their touchdown, the pull within like 1 or 2 points?
Yeah, the fumble into a fumble into Tyler Lockett recovering.
Yeah. So the only touchdown more ridiculous than Trevor Lawrence's last night was that one. Like just absurd. But yeah, back to Tony Pollard, you're right. I mean, it's not like this offense has really shown us much yet. And I actually saw a lot of people, even during the Cardinals game, which is, this is the Cardinals, who were like, yeah, Cam Ward just has no chance.
Yeah. And I think Tajay Spears provides some exciting. He obviously at the end of last season flashed like some really high target efficiency games. I think he had like an 8 target game where he caught all 8 passes and ended up being a top 10 running back. Over the last 3 games last season, I believe he was within the top 5 in running back scoring, which doesn't say a lot. It's a bit of a blip in the bucket, but such an electric player and a guy we've really liked and wanted to see on the field. Unfortunately, for what it's worth, I think both him and our boy Tony Pollard are just going to cannibalize each other because you need somebody with like 80-90% snap share in this offense to be able to consider them worth a start.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tony Pollard, until he's not the lead guy, is probably still worth a start, but it's like top 36 running back. You're thinking about him as a flex as opposed to like right now he's the RB 22 or 23, something like that. And if we have a top 36 running back and a top 50 running back, I don't know what you can do. I mean, you can't probably sell him at this point. Everybody, I think, kind of knows what's coming. Maybe you can. If you can sell him just off the production, I would probably do it. But yeah, this backfield, I'm hoping we finally see Tajay Spears get his first real shot. Really, really hoping. Would be very beneficial for, I know, both of us in separate leagues.
I mean, I would love that, but I doubt it's going to happen.
Okay, on to the meat of the show here, and that is our start, sit, trade. Where I thought we'd start is a guy who I don't even know if he's playing next week, but I thought was worth talking about because of how good of a game Rico Dowdle will have. People instantly kind of do the thing where they start side-eyeing Chuba Hubbard, and they're like, he's not getting his job back when he comes back, or like, the backfield's going to look different. So I thought it would be worth talking, whether it's this week or 2 weeks from now, when Chuba Hubbard comes back. Is he a start, sit, or trade in your mind, Dalton?
Yeah, I mean, for me, he's a start. This Panthers offense really starts with their run game and ends with their run game. Obviously, this week, they ran all over that defense. Rico Dowdle had over 200 combined rushing yards, but their passing game still hasn't been able to get it going. And as much as I love Jalen Coker, to say like he's back and he's going to be super involved in our offense, it's not really the piece I think is going to fix things for Carolina's passing attack.
That's what you think.
Yeah, well, somebody who has a dynasty would love for that to work out. But that, in addition to their offensive line, is just really built to run through the trenches. I think I've talked about this a million times already, but they have such great interior guard play that they can really maul guys and run them over. That he becomes like a weekly top 20 option. And if they face a soft defense like they did last week, they will just full commit to the run game and they will win the game on the backs of their running backs. So I think he's better than Rico Dowdle with that in mind as well. He's more explosive. And overall, like he's just such a fine RB2 start on a weekly basis.
Yeah, I'm with you. I have him as a start. And, it's funny. I think they really built the interior of that offensive line with the idea of if we have a quarterback who's 5'10", we have got to have a good interior. And it's kind of, I don't want to say accidentally, but it has almost accidentally created this really nice rushing attack that is the best part of their offense. And, I think we were both Rico Dowdle supporters last year. I think we both think he's a perfectly fine NFL running back, but I think Chuba has showed us enough over a long stretch of time for me to still say he is I don't want to say vastly superior, but he is definitely a superior player in my mind. So like, if Chuba's a top 24 back, maybe Rico Dowdle is in that flex, low end flex conversation in good matchups. But I do still think this is Chuba Hubbard's job when he comes back. Being Wally pipped, it can happen, but at this point, he has over a year of a track record of being a good player. So it just takes more than 1 week, I think. And also, this isn't like an up and coming rookie. This is Rico Dowdle, who I think we know what he is.
Yeah, this is from fantasy points and data. Among qualified running backs with more than 50 attempts, Chuba Hubbard is 8th in the NFL with carries that are for 5+ yards at 41.5%. Like, he's been really good at just getting them enough to keep that offense moving and on the field and setting up those first or their 2nd and 5s and those better opportunities for Bryce Young. And I don't see that changing anytime soon.
Yeah, and that's even with him playing 2 weeks ago with a calf injury that he clearly made worse, and that's why he didn't play the last game and may not play next week. Talking about Chuba Hubbard and this offense, he would sure be great as a Chief. Okay, Chris Godwin next up. Obviously, it has not been smooth sailing since he's come back. That shouldn't be a terrible shock. I'm gonna go with a sit for Chris Godwin. This is from Adam Levitan. Saw this today. In the last 2 weeks, Baker's thrown for 668 yards. Godwin has run a route on 71 of those 83 dropbacks, but he's just 6 receptions for 52 yards and no touchdowns. And I think there's 2 things you can point to that I expect to change going forward. Number one, it's the second game back after a pretty significant injury. You just expect him to get better, get more in football shape, knock off the rust, build the chemistry with Baker as time goes on. Number 2, I think Mike Evans coming back will help him a lot. Only 36% of his snaps have been in the slot. So just having to be more of an outside guy plus coming back off of a long absence, I think has been a bad recipe for efficiency for him so far. So if Mike Evans is back soon, can push him inside, and hopefully that plus just more rhythm and time will get him to a start eventually. But right now, I think you're sitting tight.
Yeah, we're in lockstep here. I have him as a sit, and we kind of looked at the same things. So a little inverse to your 36%. He's played 52% of his snaps at the X since returning. So not only is he returning from an injury, but he's being asked to play a position that historically we don't want Chris Godwin playing. And we've seen him do his best work inside. In the time that he's played X, they've moved Sterling Shepard into the flanker role, and then Emeka Egbuka has been largely out of the slot. Looking at the fantasy points data. In addition to that, you would expect Sterling Shepard to be the odd man out when Mike Evans returns and Chris Godwin returning to that natural role in the flanker. Even despite that, though, he has pretty high yards or target per route run. He's still at 22%. A lot of that really comes from the first game he was back where he got 10 targets and they were playing catch up against the Eagles the entire game. So I wouldn't do a lot with that, especially because out of those 10 targets, he ended up catching 3. But yeah, he's a sit and wait for it because you're not getting a lot for him. But we've seen what Chris Godwin does at his best. We saw that last season before the injury. And that's kind of what we're hoping to get back because the rest of this offense seems to be flowing pretty smoothly.
From one vet to another, Keenan Allen starts off hot. He's cooled down a little bit the last couple of weeks. The offense as a whole has obviously cooled down a little bit. So Dalton, where are you at with Keenan Allen, who is the wide receiver 16 at this moment?
I gotta go sit here. This was a hard one. Actually, it was between trade and sit. I actually think I'm going to go trade.
Okay.
I have a few rather large concerns about the Chargers going forward. One, I don't know if you saw this. It's pretty recent news. They're benching their center Bradley Bozeman.
No, I did not see that actually.
Yeah, and he's a captain, which is, if you watch last week's game, there's a moment where Justin Herbert calls out the correct pressure on the defensive tackle, and they snap the ball, and Justin Herbert screams no because his center refuses to listen to the call at the line, and he gets blown up on the play. And that's indicative of where this Chargers entire offensive line is. They're playing pretty terribly. I think the Washington defense is pretty gettable, and they looked pretty pathetic after the first 10 points the Chargers had in that game. They were unable to move the ball consistently. They had the second most penalty yards last week. I won't say who was first, but of their 10 penalties in that game against Washington, 8 of them were on the offensive line, which is pretty bad. One of them came on the kick return for Ladd McConkey, and one of them was a defensive call. So it's hard to be that bad. And the amount of pressure Justin Herbert's facing is really changing the dynamics of what this offense can do. And we've seen the drop-offs in both Quentin Johnston and Keenan Allen over the last few weeks because of that. Ladd McConkey is just sitting at his floor still, even getting a touchdown last week didn't give me much hope. But I just think this offense is bottoming out because of injuries. And I would like to sell Keenan Allen before that continues to happen, because some of the help, we don't know when Joe Alt's going to be back. I don't know what this backup center is going to look like, and I don't know what led to the decision-making process to bench another one of the starters, but they're down 3 starters since the season began, and they've rotated both guards over the last 2 weeks at that position. So they're playing with a second tier or a second lineman all across that offensive line, and I don't see that getting better, and that makes Justin Herbert's job that much harder.
Yeah, so I teetered back and forth as well. I have him as a sit just because I think the best sell window has passed us by. I mean, he starts the season off with 3 double-digit games, and I think you'd probably agree with that. Like, the best sell window is gone. I think where you and I sometimes will differ, and this is not surprising to me at all because this shows up in just how we operate in our leagues every year. You're a lot more willing to just rip the Band-Aid off. I'm a lot more willing to sit through the pain and hope it gets better. And that's kind of what I'm hoping for in this case. I'm hoping that you get another best opportunity, so to speak, to sell them. Like, you hit on all the O-line injuries. Obviously, they have the injury to the tackle before the season. Now Joe Alt's down. All of the drama and benchings and swaps on the inside. Like, just watching that Commanders Chargers game, it was one of the ones that was on TV here, so I saw quite a bit of it. I think Herbert just wore down by the end of that game. You can't blame him. Like, he's just getting pulverized and running for his life the entire game. I just don't know how much better that's going to get. And one thing you didn't mention is now Marion Hampton is down 4 weeks as well. So
is that Kamani Vidal music?
Where is he going to run exactly? I think we're just going to see even more passing. And I'm hoping, like, because there have been a lot of instances where Herbert has been very locked in on Keenan Allen this year. I'm hoping we get another good Keenan Allen game that we can sell him off of, because outside of the O-line concerns, I do still think, I mean, Ladd may not live up to his pre-draft price, but better days are probably still ahead for him this year. And I don't think Quentin Johnston's going away either. So there's just a lot of things working against him right now. But I'm going to be stubborn and hang in there and hope that there's a better opportunity, because Keenan Allen probably will catch a touchdown and have 50 yards at some point. Hopefully it's just not after 4 weeks of bad games, you know?
Yeah. Well, and I kind of like that call. I forgot this. I had this in my notes. They played the Dolphins this week. So if there's ever a gettable spot, and a spot where your offensive line is not going to make negative, like not going to have to be in hard positions, it's against the Dolphins. That's a horrible defensive line they're going up against.
Yeah, but you know, it's funny. I'll make this argument the other way later. That can kind of go both ways. You can sometimes sell the guy before the great matchup and just like try to sell it on that inflated value of, hey, he's got such and such coming. You know, if you want to get off the guy and you're not totally believing in what's happening. So I can see that either way, or you could hold and hope he goes off there. So
I love that we just both made conflicting points for each other. To all of our listeners, we're both right.
That's right. All right. TreVeyon Henderson, a guy that not a lot of people have been right about so far. I mean, he's going to be playing more, I think, going forward, just by virtue of Antonio Gibson is now out for the year. Shout out Antonio Gibson. That was tough to see the other night. I'm going sit with TreVeyon Henderson, because if you drafted him, you probably spent a 4th-round pick.
Maybe that's up to the 4th return after that kick return touchdown in the preseason.
It's like we never learn. I think you're just sitting and you're hoping. and you're hoping that he starts playing more, and that if Ramondre Stevenson keeps fumbling, he has 10 fumbles in his last 20 games, which is a lot. A lot. I still just believe in TreVeyon Henderson, the player and the prospect. I do think if he does get the opportunity, he will make an impact down the stretch of this fantasy season. So I don't really want to be in the business of selling my 4th round pick or late 3rd round pick at what I think is maybe not basement value, but not that far above what his basement value is going to be the rest of the season. And honestly, I was pretty convinced. I had him as a buy low a couple weeks ago. I thought, okay, this is like Gibson fumbled, Stevenson fumbled. That cost them a game. This is the time where Henderson, the takeover is going to happen. My best guess is he does not know the playbook well enough to be a complete running back in their scheme right now. And we'll see how quickly that changes, if that is the case. But I'm still just holding and banking on the talent down the stretch at this point, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm going with Sit. It's the 3rd week in a row we've talked about TreVeyon Henderson. And I can say all the things I've said before. I think what's most important to think about here is this is a pretty normal curve for the majority of rookie running backs. Like, we spend the first half of the season like, oh, why aren't they on the field? The thing is, this season, a lot of the rookies got on the field pretty quickly because they're good. You look at Quinshon Judkins, Omarion Hampton, even Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. All of those guys got on the field pretty quickly and got us outsized returns. The problem, this is the 2nd highest drafted or 3rd highest drafted rookie running back.
Yeah, although, Bill, outside of this week, he hadn't gotten on the field really any more than Henderson, but he just had the blow-up week production-wise. So it feels
he just had these touchdowns, which at least inflated it. But the Patriots offense is moving. Like, it's a really fun unit to watch. And you said it. I mean, you watch the Steelers game, Ramondre fumbles twice, they lose the game. On a lot of people end up blaming Drake May for that, but like Ramondre fumbled literally at the end zone, was half a yard away from scoring a touchdown. And you just think to yourself, like, this can't continue. And as this team gets closer and closer to sniffing the playoffs, they're going to want less of that. And Ramondre Stevenson is one of the few players I'm okay with saying has an actual fumbling problem in the NFL. This is a pretty sticky statistic over his career. He got benched multiple times last season for it. He got benched this season for it already once. When are you going to learn? And I just think it comes down to this McDaniels playbook is evolving. When we talked about Drake May last week, I said they've thrown out a new package in every game they've played, which means they're probably asking Henderson to pick up on a lot pretty quickly. And if he doesn't have the fundamentals drilled down yet, then he's going to see less playing time. The only thing I hope is they don't sign a running back off the street and put him out there. And I saw a tweet where it was like, you're going to be real mad when it's week 8 and Gus Edwards is taking the goal line carries away from TreVeyon Henderson. And that is an ultimate just vibe killer.
Oh, man. Vibe killer to maybe vibe savior in Cincinnati. Joe Flacco is a Bengal as of about 6 hours ago of this podcast recording. Let's use that to talk about T. Higgins and this offense a little bit, because I think at this point, Ja'Marr Chase had his get right game. Like, you're just rolling Chase out there every week, and you're praying that he just has the takeover. T. Higgins, he scored a touchdown, but he had 3 catches for 22 yards, not exactly inspiring much confidence. So how are you feeling about the Joe Flacco addition, and where does T. Higgins kind of sit in this scale for you?
Yeah, I'll just go ahead and say it. I'm trading T. Higgins.
See, I had him as a trade, and I thought we were going to disagree there.
Well, and here are my problems. Let's just talk about the Bengals offensive environment in general. Some things we've said, they made this entire offense for Joe Burrow. Because of that, it is a very difficult offense to operate in. It doesn't do the things we like to see. Let's talk about the last time we saw a good Joe Flacco. It was with the Browns before this Browns, when they made the playoff run. That offense was run heavy, play action heavy, turn your back to the defense, all the things that Cincinnati continues to refuse to do. And then we just talk about what this like quote unquote upgrade is. When it comes down to EPA per play, Jake Browning is worst in the NFL. Unsurprisingly, second worst is Joe Flacco.
Yep.
So
I had that one ready to go too.
yeah. And then you talk about like, oh, we're going from the 27th worst pass blocking unit to the 29th worst pass blocking unit in the Bengals from the Browns. So the good news for Joe Flacco is he doesn't have to travel far to change teams. They're just right down the street from each other. The bad news is the only upgrade he's getting is in his weapons. And I don't know. I think Kevin Stefanski is probably a better play caller and probably was dialing things up better for Joe Flacco than what we're going to see in Cincinnati. On the T. Higgins front, it just doesn't get better. They came back in that game largely because the Lions were up by so much. I really don't think the Lions were trying in that second half of the game.
All the Lions were trying to do was give David Montgomery the ball in this homecoming game. That's like they let him throw a touchdown. Like that's basically all they were trying to do for the last hour and a half of that game.
Yeah. And it's like when you're beating up on your little brother in Madden. And then your little brother's you're only up by 10 and you're like, well, hold on, let me just pull back the playbook and show you again. No more flea flickers. And this is a lost season for Cincinnati. I'm pretty comfortable saying that this early in the season. And if I were to say coaches to get fired, Zach Taylor is really up there. If you look at just motion rate in the NFL and play action rate in the NFL, even with the loss of Joe Burrow, the Bengals are 29th and 28th. They're not doing anything creatively. They're not changing the offense like they did the last time Joe Burrow got injured and led to some positive gains out of it. And if our only hope is that it gets into a garbage time shootout, I just don't want those players. And I'm just going to sell T. Higgins now on the Joe Flacco hope and on the he scored touchdown last week hope.
Yeah. It's fine. I'm glad you made the point about the offense because that's been one thing that has confused me because, as I like to do, I did a Twitter search just to see what the people are kind of feeling. And the people are excited for the Bengals weapons, not necessarily like for the Bengals winning games, but just like the Bengals weapons. And specifically, like the general consensus I found was, Ja'Marr Chase, like he was going to be okay. But this takes T. Higgins and Chase Brown from dead to like they have a pulse now. And I'm just not sure if that's true. I mean, maybe they have a pulse, but I don't think this is not as good as it could have been. They could have traded for Jameis Winston, and all of a sudden we'd be like, okay, like they're not going to win games, but these guys are going to put up yards and touchdowns.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah, so that would have been obviously much, much better.
You know what I will say is that this is probably the best wide receiver Joe Flacco's had to throw to since Torrey Smith.
Yeah.
And if you want to think about the last time Torrey Smith is in the league, maybe you should just reevaluate your expectations of what Joe Flacco can do for this offense.
I think if you're trying to sell, which I'm with you, I'm trading T. Higgins too. You're selling it on the hope that, hey, like, look at what Flacco's like Garrett Wilson, Michael Pittman. Like, you just start naming these guys and you kind of start fanning those flames.
Jerry Jeudy was top 6 last year. Look at that.
Although Jameis Winston had a bigger hand in that than Flacco, but just don't have the person look too hard at what happened there.
Yeah, ask your league mate to name who started for the Browns at quarterback in any week because it's half the NFL at this point.
And like maybe you can sell somebody on the, hey, yeah, I know Flacco has been really bad with the Browns, but like the Browns weren't going anywhere. He's going to the Bengals. He's got a chance to play meaningful football. Like Joe Flacco shows up for these big games. He's going to be better than he was earlier this year. And I don't know, man, he's never been fast by any means, but he just looks like a mummy out there trying to make decisions and navigate the pocket. And the amount of times I've seen that man get strip sacked this year is unreal. And the poor guy, if he plays this week, is playing the Packers again as an AFC quarterback for the second time this year. The only hope I think you have for Chase Brown is that the Browns running backs averaged 8.5 targets per game with Joe Flacco at quarterback. So maybe you get a lot of old man dink and dunk throws out of him for Chase Brown. But yeah, I'm willing to sell T. Higgins for 75 cents on the dollar and just get out of the Bengals business unless I have Ja'Marr Chase.
Would you trade T. Higgins for Romeo Doubs?
No, because that Packers receiver room is about ready to be a real cluster, you know what, because Christian Watson is back and practicing. Seems like he is going to be playing within the next month, would be my guess. Jaden Reed will be back probably week 10, 11, something like that. So well before the fantasy playoffs. Matthew Golden still there. And so then I think we'll just be to the point where it's like, I have no idea who to start out of any of these guys. And so none of them are helpful to me unless I'm in best ball.
Rashid Shaheed, who is the wide receiver 21 right now.
Yeah, I probably would take Shaheed.
God, that's so sad.
Yeah. Feel bad for T. Hope I'm wrong.
It's T's fault. He could have went somewhere else. That's on him. Sorry,
but I think a lot of people were correctly making the argument that this is the best fantasy situation for him. Just so happens that the quarterback got hurt, and there's no plan B when a Joe Burrow, a Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson gets hurt. But some systems are better equipped to deal with it than others, and the Bengals do not fall into that category. Okay, next up, Calvin Ridley coming off his first signs of life last week. I'll make this real quick and simple. I'm trading Calvin Ridley off of that performance. Not just like for pennies. I'm hoping to get something pretty good to solid for Calvin Ridley. And I think you can sell a few things here. You look at his game log last year, the first 5 weeks of the season. 6.5, 22.7, 1.4, 2, and 0.9. Those are his points. Those are his points in those games. This year, 4.7, 7.2, 3.2, 4, and 15.6. He's actually been a little more consistent this year than he was last year to start the season. He was wide receiver 27 through his first 5 games last year, 44. This year, obviously, he had a bigger game. He finished as the wide receiver 27 last year. Right now, he's the wide receiver 44, I meant to say. And you kind of package that with, hey, this guy's been a slow starter. Like, he's going to finish in the top 30. He'll be fine. And you know what? Like, he may very well finish in the top 30. The thing that I can personally attest to as a former Calvin Ridley owner in Dynasty before, even before the gambling days, anytime you think you can trust Calvin Ridley, he just proves that you can't. And then anytime he's on your bench, he makes you want to believe again. He's never in your starting lineup when he actually has the good games. And I just don't want to deal with that headache on my team. It's just not worth it. Like, he's just kind of a knucklehead as a player. He'll have drops. He'll have these games where it's like, man, like, what's going on with Calvin Ridley? And we talked about the offense not exactly inspiring a ton of confidence earlier. And I should have written this down. I'll look it up as you talk. But they have a great matchup this week that if you're hoping to sell, kind of like I said with Keenan Allen, if you want to sell and point to, hey, you've got
Raiders.
A great matchup. Yeah, Raiders. You've got the Raiders this week. Like, he's going to go off again, which he may, and it may sting this week. But I promise your blood pressure will go down if Calvin Ridley is no longer on your fantasy football team.
Yeah, and I'm trading him as well. This was my guy, by the way. So eating my words on that one, and I'll openly admit to it. There's a couple problems here, and I want to start with the real football problems because sometimes we miss those as people who like primarily look for fantasy scores and underlying data. But if you just listen to The Athletic and Robert Mays, who does a great job at analyzing football along with his co-host Derek Klassen, this team is like not playing for Cam Ward at all. There are just multiple like issues in the way Calvin Ridley is playing the game of football. He's not showing out for his quarterback. He's not making catches for his quarterback. He has the 5th highest drop rate among wide receivers in the NFL right now. I understand Cam Ward throws it like a piss missile, and he's still learning to put touch on the ball. But the greater issue in that is that you're a veteran, and you and Tony Pollard are supposed to be the guys who are helping this offense get cohesive and giving Cam Ward the opportunity to be good. And you're not doing that. Alec Eomenor is playing better than you, who's a rookie out of Stanford, who people had questions about his entire profile coming into it. And you compound that with the amount of pressure Cam Ward is facing is like the worst in the NFL. That offensive line is a turnstile, and it's not getting better for them, and it's not going to get better as the season progresses. I just want off of it in as many ways as possible. Nate Tice went on the fantasy football show with Harmon, and he refused to give any negative qualifications for Cam Ward just because of how poor the entire offensive environment is.
Mhm.
We spent a little bit ago talking about Zach Taylor and the Bengals. This is the same coaching tree from the Bengals. And if you're curious, the two teams with the worst coaching adjustments in EPA in the NFL are the Bengals and the Titans.
Who's the third Taylor coach in the coaching tree? Because there's a third one. There was a chart last week where it was some offensive chart, and it was all three Zach Taylor. Zach Taylor and his two coaches were at the bottom left, and everybody else was a little ways away from him.
I don't know who it is, but I want as far away from that coaching tree as I can possibly get. And just for all those reasons, I'm telling people, hey, look, Cam Ward's figuring it out. He beat the Cardinals. They're getting better. You want him for Khalil Shakir, and then I'm walking away, and at least I know that I don't have that roster clog on my bench anymore.
I'm trying really hard to find. I can't find who the third one is, but yeah. I'm with you all the way there. Okay. Next up, I hope we have a disagreement. We have had one disagreement. I hope we have a disagreement on some of these down the stretch here. Jacory Krosky-Merritt. Dalton, I thought this would be a good topic to bring up. Number one, because he finally had his blow-up game. Number two, I know it's Dynasty, so it's different, but you just sold him last week. So you had to actually put this exercise to the test. A week later, do you have any regrets, or are you still feeling good about the decision? And then just for redraft, what are you thinking?
When it comes to Dynasty, I feel really good about the decision to sell him. I think he's a fine player. This is one of those things I picked him up off waivers after the rookie draft, just for anybody listening. And I think he's a fine player, similar to how Brian Robinson was like a fine player in this offense. And the problem with players who are just fine is that they usually get replaced, and it's even worse for running backs with lower draft capital. So that's kind of some of the decision making around that. And more importantly, I think this coaching staff has already showed an earnest want to have other running backs involved as much as possible. When it comes to redraft, especially this season, though, I'm actually starting him. He's been predominantly.
We're gonna be in agreement. I know it.
Among qualifying running backs, I pulled this up earlier for Chuba Hubbard, but this is from fantasy data. He is the number one running back with over 40 attempts that gain 5 yards or more at 58.1%. This is an offense I want to be a part of. We haven't really got to see the full offense because the first week they play that strange game. Then Jaden Daniels gets hurt. They lose Terry McLaurin to some injuries. It's just been a really weird start to the season. But it's pretty clear to me that when Jaden Daniels is back in that offense, they're pretty dynamic in what they can do. They've made Debo look young again, which is difficult. And they put up 27 points on a really good Chargers defense despite the injuries. And you compile it all together, and like Jacory Krosky-Merritt is going to be kind of, in my opinion, a boomer bust player for you, but he has really big booms available. This is also from fantasy data. When the Washington Commanders have a lead, Jacory Krosky-Merritt has over a 70% stat percentage. When they do not have a lead, he has a 22% stat percentage. It just depends on how often this team is winning. I think the team's going to be winning a lot this season. I think they really only see him as a 2-down back, which is fine for what you paid for him, what you get for him. But in those 2 downs, he's a really explosive runner. He's a really good player for them right now, and their offensive scheme really fits what he's looking to do.
Yeah, I have him as a start. He played 50% of the snaps the other day. That was the season high. His first game above 40%, actually, just looking at the pure snap counts. He also got 61% of the team's rush attempts. The other 2 guys were still involved, but this was the first time that we've really seen him take the reins as the lead guy. And again, maybe part of that is because they were ahead, and maybe that wouldn't be the case if they weren't. But either way, he did, and he produced when he got that chance. He had the top PFF rushing grade of any running back last week. His 6.6 yards per attempt were first amongst all running backs last week. 4.4 yards after contact were second, and he was 11th in missed tackle percentage at 23% of his runs. And like you said it, Daniel's back and healthy. Hopefully that continues. Hopefully the offense gets healthier as well. Like, I'm just starting this guy. I think we're a couple weeks away from him being a pretty locked and loaded top 24 running back at this point.
Yep. And it's super exciting for the Bill Hive, which I am a part of. And it's just another reason to go out there and say, screw the NCAA. This is a player who couldn't play in his last season. And that kind of did take his draft stock. But really excited player, really excited for him to get this opportunity. This is a team that I wouldn't be surprised if in the 4th round of the NFL draft next year, they draft somebody and we're like, I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah. Could very well happen. Okay. Here's one I did not expect 3 weeks ago that we'd be talking about. Darren Waller. Didn't play the first 3 games, and now all of a sudden, like, I don't know if I think maybe Ferguson's been the number 1 tight end in the last 2 weeks. It's probably Waller next up. With that said, I'm trading Darren Waller. Are we agreeing there too, or do we disagree here?
We're actually not going to agree here.
Nice.
But like I can go when I go. The thought I put into this is the lowest level thought I've ever had in my life, and it is what it is.
And like the argument is, yeah, it's tight end. He's putting up numbers, like just keep starting him. It's whatever. The other side of that for me is, well, a couple things. 9 for 105 and 3 touchdowns in 2 games. Obviously now Tyreek Hill is out, but they played the Panthers and the Jets, who apparently the Jets are just terrible on defense, it seems. I just don't have faith in Tua and this offense being consistent against good competition going forward, especially like we know the Dolphins always get figured out a little bit. Now they don't have Tyreek Hill on top of that. A little nervous about that, but also like this guy's 33. He was retired.
He's had these rapper.
Yeah, he was a rapper. Has had these 2 great games. And, like I can see the argument that says this guy's going to be a top 12 tight end. Like just keep him and be happy with that. But I'm going to be greedy and say, you know what? I got this guy for free. Maybe off waivers. I paid a little bit if I was early enough. I probably didn't pay much, like depending on when you picked him up. Got him for free. Can I turn him into something I feel more confident in as a long-term asset? If the answer is yes, which I think you could probably do that in a lot of leagues. It's not just like he's a random tight end doing this. This is Darren Waller. This guy has had legit tight end 1, 2 overall type of seasons. I think you can sell him off name value and what he's done and get more than he's probably going to be worth the rest of the way.
Yeah, I don't agree. I agree with all of that. Here's my counter argument. The hell was Jonnu Smith last season?
Yeah.
What was this about? What secret sauce did Mike McDaniel discover when it comes to utilizing a tight end in his scheme?
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. I do think they get figured out. They got figured out last year, and Jonnu Smith continued to produce. Over the last 2 weeks, he's already got himself all the way up to tight end 20, despite only playing 2 games. He's above TJ Hawkinson. He's right below Brock Bowers, who's only missed 1 game. And I mean, if I can go out there and trade him for somebody who's a really good asset, I would probably do it. But I think most people are going to call fool's gold what it is, especially with all the dynamics around him. It's like, you know what, whatever, man. Talked about Ferguson to start off the show. This is one of those, like, I'm just going to ride this train. Yeah. They did this last year with Jonnu Smith, who's gone back to being a complete and total zero. And that's the breadth of the analysis I'm willing to put into whatever the hell is going on in Miami this season.
I know Kyle Pitts has been better this year, but it feels like we need Mike McDaniel to just hang on a little bit longer, which it seems like, according to some reports, that the Dolphins aren't really looking to make a coaching change. We'll see if that sticks. I do think he is a good coach, and so it probably wouldn't help things firing him. I don't think he's the issue. If he's around next year, can we get Kyle Pitts there? That's how we get top 5 Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, I mean, I would love for him to become the Chiefs analyst second half of the season. That'd be fun.
Yeah, if he gets fired, someone's getting a really good offensive coordinator next year.
Yes.
That much is for sure. Okay, another tight end. That might be the most tight ends we've ever talked about on this show, up to 3. Theo Johnson of the New York Giants, second-year guy. Kind of been on a roll, Dalton, lately. What's your stance on Mr. Johnson?
Yeah, it's kind of screwed up. You made us talk about this many tight ends, but
You let us off with a tight end.
that is true. That is very fair, and I will take that criticism to heart. But at least it was the top scoring tight end. Yeah, I am sitting here, and the
Really?
biggest reason for this is right now the Saints are the worst defense against tight ends in the NFL. They gave up 2 touchdowns to Dalton Kincaid. They gave up a touchdown to AJ Barner. They gave up a touchdown to Tongas, and they gave Trey McBride a career day.
Hold on. Dalton Kincaid only had 1 touchdown. I would know if he had 2 touchdowns, sir.
Oh, I apologize. Dalton Kincaid should have had 2 touchdowns and didn't get both of them. Anyways, they've given up a ton of high tight end scoring games. Second thing here is, I mean, this Giants offense is bottoming out, and I don't think Theo Johnson's going to be the answer. Darius Slay leaves with a hamstring injury, is going to be questionable week to week for a while. Wan'Dale Robinson is the de facto wide receiver 1. I don't think anything is happening with Daniel Bellinger. Cam Scatterbo doing his thing. Good for him. I don't believe that that's sustainable either.
Did you see the clip of the Saints guys talking about him during the game?
No.
I'll have to go find it and send it to you. It's so funny. No, it's is it Demario Douglas? Is that linebacker's name for the Saints?
Yes.
He's like just laughing on the sideline, but he's like, hey, 44, like when you get him wrapped up, you can just like feel his feet just like real fast. He's just laughing about it. But then he told him after the game, like he respects how he runs and stuff. But it's a funny clip. I'll find it and send it to you. But yeah, no, the offense is not in the best place. There's no arguing that.
Yeah, and just when it comes down to it, like this is one of those, like he's had a 9-point game and then he had 18 points against the Saints last week. This is just one of those, like, don't take the small sample size out of it. This offense is likely going to continue to get worse. This is probably the worst defense they'll play and the worst team they'll play in the NFL, comparable to them. And I still don't think we've seen enough out of Jackson Dart through 2 games to make a strong opinion on him. But early returns, in my opinion, are that he still has a lot to gain as a passer.
Yeah.
And I would rather start a tight end who's lower on points scored, but just on an offense I can trust a little more to put up points consistently. Like TJ Hawkinson's under him in scoring right now. I'd probably still start TJ Hawkinson. Britton Strange was under him. I would have started him had the problem not happened. I do like what Mason Taylor's done in the last 2 weeks compared to him. They're both kind of similar scoring outputs. So just all in all, I'm sitting him, and like in most redraft leagues, like he's probably one of the first players I cut once I find an exciting waiver option.
Well, it's exciting. I'm starting him. To me, unlike Waller, you probably can't sell him for much of anything. He's still a relative unknown, unproven player, but I just think a tight end, unless you're in a really good, unless you have this year, I mean, you're still like starting the main guys over him, even if they're not producing. You're still starting Bowers, you're still starting McBride, obviously Kittle when he's back, like Kelsey, Kincaid, Ferguson. You're starting those guys, Waller probably as well at this point. But anytime you get a tight end with 3 touchdowns in 2 weeks, do you want to guess what this guy's RAS, relative athletic score, was coming out of college?
Well, like a 9.98.
9.99. The only thing that kept him from a 10 was apparently the cone drill. 9.99 relative athletic score. Second-year tight end, so you can see the argument like, hey, second-year guy making strides. He's tied for 5th in the NFL in targets inside the 10 and 4th on targets inside the 20, not just amongst tight ends. Unless I misread the stat. Don't think I did. That's everybody. Like, this guy has been a priority when they've gotten in scoring position. and he's a great athlete. And there's no Malik Neighbors, which, they won't get in scoring position maybe as often as they would have before, but also he's probably going to get more looks when they do. So that probably offsets for the most part. I'm not saying this guy's a top 6 tight end, but I think like tight end 10, you could do a lot worse, I think, than starting Theo Johnson at this point.
Would you rather start the tight end 10 or Theo Johnson?
Who's the tight end 10?
Well, I'm asking you a question.
Well, I know who the tight end 10 is.
Sam Laporta.
Oh,
come on.
I don't know. I guess I would start Laporta, but
would you rather start AJ Barner, the tight end 7?
I would rather start Theo Johnson.
That's fair. I probably would too.
Okay, last one. Something tells me we're going to be either in agreement or just off by a technicality here. Bo Nix had to get a quarterback in there. And I thought, Bo Nix has had kind of I don't want to say a Bortles year, but he's been a little up and down. And he'll have these games. Maybe I'm just more aware of it because I have him on a team, on a super flex team right now. You're going into these fourth quarters. You're like, hey, man, why do you have 6.5 points? It's the fourth quarter. And like the other day, he'll have some great drives. And all of a sudden, okay, 18. I could live with that. But Bo Nix, Dalton, how are we feeling about him at this point? I don't have the number, but I know he's a top 12 top 12 quarterback right now.
He is QB 12.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sitting him like
you're sitting him.
Yeah. And it's
I'm trading him, but I think we're going to agree. But I think just name value and what he just did against the Eagles, I think you might be able to get somebody to bite if you're in a league where people roster more than one quarterback.
Yeah. My thing with him is this offense is really confusing to me. Like they go out and they beat the Eagles, which was very surprising. And Bo Nix has a really good day against good defense. He had 18 fantasy points. Then the week prior, he has 26 fantasy points. Before that, 13, then 21, and then starts the season out with 8.8. The way this offense is running is pretty confusing. Courtland Sutton is their best player, but right now he's 42nd in targets per route run. Like they're actually not targeting him, though his ass score is 8th in the NFL, so he's consistently open. And it's just
he and Marvin Mims. I saw a stat where over X amount of games and it bled in the last year, they're almost the same volume wise, which I just don't understand that.
And this was like the feeling I think we both had coming in to the NFL season. I think Bo Nix hit his ceiling last season. He was an older prospect coming in, and this offense hasn't really improved. In fact, it's regressed in a lot of ways from what we were seeing from it last year. And overall, they don't have enough dynamic playmakers to inflate the stats for Bo Nix like you would want to see. Mm-hmm. He's not like a big time runner. He can get you some yards here and there on the ground, but he's not like an aggressive runner where a Justin Fields can have 100-yard passing day and still be like a top 5 quarterback. So without like a weapon that really can take this offense over the top, and then I just think we're kind of seeing his ceiling, which is he'll be a middling quarterback for the next 5 to 10 years in the NFL, which isn't a bad thing for him, but not what you really want in fantasy.
Yeah, I have him as a trade, and I agree with pretty much everything you said. I just think, like I said, if you're in a league where people have multiple quarterbacks, people have very strong Bo Nix opinions one way or another. He's a very polarizing player. Either people think he's like the next one up, or people think he's terrible. And despite the fact that, before I said the number, have you seen what his PFF grade is right now?
No, I haven't.
Okay, if you had to guess, I'll give you an over-under of 25. Do you think so? Under 25 would mean that it's 1 through 24. Over it would be 25 or above.
It has to be under.
He is PFF's 32nd rated quarterback this year. And just to be fair, we see PFF grades for Mahomes and other quarterbacks all the time, and we're like, okay, sure, like whatever. So I don't want to say he is the 32nd best quarterback because PFF tells me so. It is a data point at least, and it somewhat backs up my eye test to a bigger extreme. I don't think he's terrible, but I watch a lot of games, and it's funny. He's known as this check down merchant, but he has 4 touchdowns of 20 or more air yards, second most in the NFL behind Baker Mayfield right now. And he either, it seems like, checks it down or throws it 20 yards down the field. That's just like the vibe, my vibes stat for Bo Nix when I watch them play. And some of those bombs down, like, he can make good throws down the field, but there are other times where it's like you can kind of tell the arm strength is not quite there, and he's just throwing the guys that aren't open. I don't know, and that to me is part of why he feels so hit or miss from a fantasy perspective, because on days where those big plays are not coming, I just don't trust him to move the ball consistently enough. And it's funny, he had a quote after the game. Our defense just kept getting stops and getting us the ball back, and that's kind of damning with faint praise. It's like, man, how many opportunities did you need to score 20 points? Oh, the Eagles are a good defense. Obviously, the Chiefs scored 10, so it's not to say that, but it's like, hey, man, like, I don't know. I just don't think this is anything more than an average NFL quarterback who's not a great runner, which, as you said, that recipe for fantasy is tough. And so I think you could probably find a Bo Nix believer and trade Bo Nix and a position player and maybe upgrade somewhere else on your roster.
Yeah, and I mean, like, in Dynasty, what you're really hoping is kind of a Jared Goff-esque revival for Bo Nix, where
Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield, yeah. Although I think Baker had more juice coming into the league than Bo Nix does.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But you're just hoping he gets a really forward-thinking head coach, which Sean Payton's a really good head coach and knows how to win football games, but sometimes winning football games comes at the expense of the fantasy points. Mm-hmm. And Sean Payton's definitely one of those who wins games that way, which is very good to his credit, but not to the game we play, which is a fun, silly little game. And unless they can add somebody to that room where it's like, well, if he just gets them on a slant once a game, he could take for 90 and we're going to get a lot of free points out of that. It's just hard for me to make a good argument for Bo Nix, even being a top 12 quarterback. I know he is right now, but like, just looking at the numbers right now, Justin Fields, who basically missed 2 full games, is right below him by 2 fantasy points.
Yeah.
And then below that is Sam Darnold, who's below him by 4 fantasy points and put up 5 points in week 1. Yeah. And then CJ Stroud is right below him by 4 points. And again, like, CJ Stroud's been terrible most of the season. So it's just kind of that similar thing we get every season where quarterback 12 through 20 is kind of a ugly grab and bag of who has the best matchups this week. But I think Bo Nix isn't even matchup dependent. Like, week 1, he played the Titans and they're not a good defense, and he put up 8 points.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, it's impossible to know when to start him because you're exactly right. It's not matchup dependent. It's just which Bo Nix shows up that day, I think. Okay, Dalton, anything else to add before we hop out of here?
No, I think we're good to go. I'm so glad the Chiefs are 3-2.
On that note, that is going to do it for episode. Oh, sorry. We got a question literally as I started to sign off. I've been having this from Nino Pena. I've been having flex problems in this league with throwing guys like Alec, Titans rookie, Pacheco, and RJ Harvey. Would it be crazy using number 1 waiver priority on either Chargers running back or Taylor and run them moving forward? Who's Taylor?
I'm assuming Mason Taylor.
Mason Taylor. Oh, he said sorry, but that's okay. The timing was perfect. Happy to get it out there. I mean, I would be more interested probably in Mason Taylor than any Charger running back at this point. Pacheco, I don't think you can trust. I mean, last night was the best he's looked. And you look at the box score, it's like 5 carries for 31 yards. Like, it's just not there fantasy-wise for him right now. Maybe give it a couple weeks and it might be, because he did look the most like himself before the injury that we've seen. I think I'd probably just say Mason Taylor would be the guy that I'd want to throw in there.
Yeah, I mean, the Chargers running backs are just going to be the same roster clog you already have with and you might get some fool's gold out of them this week. We already talked about they have a good matchup against Miami, but that offensive line is pretty terrible. So you're going to be really trying to leverage some real big weeks out of them, and you're just going to give yourself 4 guys to pick between flex, and you're just going to be more likely to be wrong. Mason Taylor was already an exciting rookie. If you recall, he was an early second-round pick by the Jets.
Yeah, and he's the clear number 2 option in that passing game.
Yeah, so I would take Mason Taylor and run with it from there. At least you can have another serviceable option at tight end instead of, I don't even know what the answer is between Hassan Haskins and Kamani Vidal, to be completely honest.
Yeah, and that's the problem.
So, yeah, and then I'd probably roll with Pacheco again this week if I were you as far as that flex position.
You'd roll with Pacheco over Mason Taylor?
Yeah, I mean, just flexing a tight end is risky business.
Yeah, but again, Pacheco, like, he's getting 5 to 8 touches a game right now, and he's not the goal line guy. And yeah, he's getting a couple more receptions maybe, but I honestly think Mason Taylor is probably the safer play. And so that it might depend on your matchup too. Like, do you think you're in a matchup where you're chasing points? Is it too early to kind of know that? Or do you think you're in a matchup where you just want some safety from your flex spot? So it is a little bit team dependent too, maybe, but I still think I'd go Mason Taylor. But I can see the Pacheco argument. I'd be staying away from the Chargers backfield though.
Yeah, and just some quick matchup thoughts. The Jets play the Broncos this week in London. Like, it's like double bad. It's an 8:30 a.m. game, and it's the Broncos defense, which has been pretty good this season.
Learn from experience. Make sure you have an alarm set for 8 o'clock just in case somebody is a game time inactive if you have someone starting in that. Shout out Jaylen Warren. Okay, on that note, I see no more questions in the chat. Thank you for that. Nino, that is going to do it for episode 182 of the Half Point Per Podcast. Give us a follow, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, Half Point Per Pod. Subscribe to the YouTube Half Point Per Podcast. The link to all those things will be in the show notes. As always, the podcast is available anywhere you get your shows, Spotify, Apple, all that good stuff. Leave us a 5-star review on the platform of your choice, and we'll be back